Part 4, the 5 systems every $1 million business needs. Welcome back to our Life First Business Operational Excellence series. Yesterday, we talked about founder dependency and why your team keeps coming back to you with the same questions over and over again. Today, I want to save you from making another mistake I see founders make all the time. They leave a training like feeling motivated and excited. They decided they're finally going to systematize the business and immediately try to document everything. Every checklist, every workflow, every tiny task. They bombard their team with all of the things. 3 weeks later, they're overwhelmed. Nothing is finished and the binder ends up collecting dust. Operational excellence isn't about documenting everything. It's about documenting the things that create the biggest impact. I always tell founders to think of their business like a house. If you're building a home, you don't start by picking the cabinet hardware. You pour the foundation first. Businesses work exactly the same way. There are a handful of systems that almost every growing company needs before worrying about the little details. The first is your sales system. How does someone discover you? How are consultations handled? How are objections handled? How do they become a paying customer? The second is your client experience system. From the moment someone says yes, what happens next? How do they get onboarded? How do you create consistency so every time every customer has the same exceptional experience, regardless of who is working that day? The third is your people system. How you hire, onboard, train, coach, and hold people accountable. The fourth is your financial system. How are decisions made around money? Who owns reporting? What KPIs are reviewed and how often? Because businesses don't become accidentally financially healthy, by the way. They create routines around measuring what matters. For example, we track the ROI on every single course, program, event, masterclass, you name it, in our company. So if our goal is to hold a strong profit margin, these systems are what help protect those goals. Finally, your leadership system. And this one surprises people because they don't think of leadership as a system, but it absolutely is. How are priorities communicated? How are meetings run? How are decisions made? How do problems move through the organization? How often does your leadership team meet? How do goals get reviewed? How is accountability and success measured? Without a leadership operating system, every other system eventually starts drifting. Chaos almost always starts because the core operating system is weak. I talked to you in part 2 of this series about the moments when a founder tells me, Kaylee, we have SOPs, and my response is, great, tell me how often your team uses them. And then I hear back, the blank stare, of course, or, well, they should be using them, but who knows if they actually are following through. This is a prime example of an immature leadership system. If you're listening today, don't leave with a list of 50 SOPs to write. Instead, ask yourself one question. Which of these 5 systems would create the biggest improvement in our business if it became more consistent? Start there. Remember that operational excellence isn't created by doing more as an owner. It's built through discernment, prioritization, and focus on the things that matter most. Next, I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, accountability. Because accountability isn't actually about making sure people are doing their job. It's about building a business where accountability becomes the natural outcome of a well-designed operating system. And P.S., if you haven't already accessed our free companion guide for this series, comment or DM operating system, and I'll send it to you, or you can grab it in the show notes below. I'll see you in the next video.